The origin of the Black Jews is in Ethiopia. They actually have one of the most complete Bibles that exists, and they have the full Book of Enoch in music, the Ethiopian Bible. A new finding inside the ancient Ethiopian Bible reveals a detail about the resurrection of Jesus that appears in no other gospel. Scholars are abuzz over the implications of this alternate version, questioning its origins and significance. Could this ancient text music offer fresh insights into Christianity's foundational story, or is it a fascinating anomaly? Join us to find out. A hidden story beyond the Western Bible. The Easter tale is well known to all. Following Jesus' death, his followers found the tomb empty on Sunday. The large stone blocking the entrance had been moved. Jesus made several appearances to his disciples in the weeks that followed. He greeted them in a room above, walked with them on the path to Emmaus, and stood by them at the peaceful Galilee shore. Before ascending to heaven, he delivered a final message, urging them to carry on his mission. His ascension was a moment of awe and astonishment. The story in the four Gospels of the Western Bible, namely Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, is considered essential to the belief of billions of people worldwide. These books are seen as the cornerstone of Christian faith. However, imagine if these four books are just a condensed summary. What if the entirety of Jesus' teachings in all their detail were actually contained in a single ancient source that many have overlooked? That location happens to be Ethiopia. Ethiopia is where the Tewa Orthodox Church can be found, which is considered one of the most ancient Christian societies in existence. This church has been practicing its faith and preserving its beliefs for numerous generations. It is located in a region surrounded by mountains and deserts, a place that the Roman Empire was unable to completely conquer or dominate. As a result, Ethiopian Christianity developed independently, free from the influences that impacted the Western world. Many Christians in the West are accustomed to either the 66 books of the Protestant Bible or the 73 books of the Catholic Bible. However, the Ethiopian Bible contains 81 books, a significant difference from the Western tradition. This additional collection of texts has been considered sacred by the Ethiopian community for many years. For years, Western academics disregarded these texts, dismissing them as mere folklore. They found the narratives to be perplexing and mysterious, written in gaze, a language understood by a select few. Consequently, these works were not given much credence by those outside the community. However, what many fail to acknowledge was that Ethiopian Christianity developed independently from the Roman Church, evolving along its unique trajectory. In certain respects, it adhered more closely to the original essence of the religion. Archaeologists have unearthed ancient Ethiopian gospel manuscripts, such as the renowned German Gospels. Through carbon testing, it has been revealed that these manuscripts originated as far back as the 4th century, predating the Council of Nicaea, where Roman authorities established the official version of Christianity in the West. Contrary to popular belief, these Ethiopian texts do not tell new tales or contain fabricated stories. Instead, they reveal a pre-existing form of Christianity that existed prior to the influence of Rome on the faith as it is commonly understood today. Contained within an old Ethiopian Bible are texts that were once lost to Western culture. The Book of Enoch, in particular, gained fame for its mention in the New Testament, yet was later excluded by Roman authorities. This book tells a compelling and dark tale, unsettling to the early leaders of the Church. The story revolves around a group of celestial beings known as the Watchers who descended to Earth and engaged in romantic relationships with mortal women. Their offspring, the Nephilim, were a race of formidable creatures. These fallen angels also shared forbidden knowledge with humans, including the creation of weapons, cosmetics, and music dark practices. The narrative was characterized by its unpredictable nature and mysterious elements. The Roman Church chose not to include this story as it did not align with their desired portrayal of tranquility and order. However, Ethiopia preserved the tale for future generations. The Ethiopian Bible contains the Book of Jubilees, which is also known as the Lesser Genesis. According to this book, Moses received a message on a sacred mountain. The Book of Jubilees revisits the Genesis story by adding fresh details and rearranging the narrative. It introduces a distinct solar calendar that contradicts the Roman Church's calendar. This divergence would have posed a threat to the Western rulers attempting to establish a uniform system of dates and festivities. The language used in Ethiopian tradition is a significant aspect. Gaz, a Semitic language, is used in writing these old books. It is noteworthy because Jesus communicated in Aramaic, another Semitic language. On the other hand, the Western Gospels were penned in Greek, the language of the Roman Empire. Due to this contrast, Ethiopian texts might contain a rendition of Jesus' teachings that is more faithful to his original words and less influenced by Greek and Roman customs. The Ethiopian Bible contains 15 additional books that prompt challenging inquiries. These extra texts provide a unique perspective on the early history of Christianity, one that diverges from the narratives shaped by influential figures in Rome. Ethiopia's commitment to preserving its ancient beliefs sets it apart from other traditions that have evolved over time. And this brings us to the great mystery behind all of this. If the Ethiopian Bible is older, fuller, and less filtered through political decisions, what does it say about the most important event in Christian faith? What does it say about the 40 days between the resurrection and the ascension? What did Jesus truly say in those final days when he walked the earth again? What message did he leave behind? And why did the rest of the world never hear it? Stay with us to find out. The law left after the resurrection. In the Western versions of the Gospels, the time following the resurrection seems to pass quickly. There are only a few instances of Jesus appearing, sharing a meal, giving a blessing, and then ascending into heaven. However, in the Ethiopian Bible, this post-resurrection period is portrayed as much longer and more significant. It is the focal point of the story. Instead of just briefly showing up and disappearing, Jesus remains present. He spends time walking and talking with his disciples. Over the course of 40 days, he imparts important teachings with great authority and intention. The Book of the Covenant, also known as the Mashef Kadan, contains teachings about Jesus during the 40 days after his resurrection. Unlike the gentle teacher depicted in other texts, Jesus is portrayed as a divine king, delivering a serious message to his closest followers. In this text, his demeanor and words are forceful with warnings and revelations about the soul, darkness, and a future corruption within the church. The disciples were instructed to protect these teachings at all costs, and for centuries, they were kept hidden in stone monasteries of a land that resisted imperial rule. This was no ordinary goodbye. It was a profound lesson spanning 40 days, revealing universal truths that could have a profound impact. Buried within the Ethiopian scriptures lies a transformative text that challenges conventional beliefs. According to Ethiopian clergy, the Mashefekadon serves as an indisputable testament to these teachings, portraying Jesus as a figure of immense power and influence. His words in the text exude an aura of divine authority, depicting him as a supreme ruler dictating decisive orders. His resurrection is not portrayed as a conclusion, but rather as a commencement of his rightful rule. The initial law introduced by him questions the concept of worldly authority. He emphasizes that his Father's weapon is not crafted by humans, but by a compassionate spirit. This declaration carries great. Amidst a world marred by religious battles and ceaseless strife, he advises his disciples to refrain from resorting to violence in his honor. It is a plea for tranquility from a being who has recently triumphed over mortality. This is not a directive for military actions, but rather a call for tenderness and compassion. He proceeds to impart a lesson that alters the concept of faith entirely. According to him, the Spirit will serve as their source of power, the heart will function as their place of worship, and love will act as their guiding principle. These straightforward words hold profound significance. If the heart is deemed the actual place of worship, then what implications does that have for the grand structures made of stone and gold that would eventually be constructed in his honor? Similarly, if love is established as the sole law, then what does that signify for the intricate regulations and rigid distinctions that would ultimately cause divisions among followers? This lesson fosters a belief that flourishes within one's inner being. It does not rely on influential figures. It does not depend on extravagant structures. It does not bow down to worldly powers. As a result, it may be perceived as a threat by those seeking to establish dominance and manipulation. However, the most surprising aspect is the caution he issues. He informs his supporters that his teachings will undergo alterations in the near future. He mentions that numerous individuals will claim to represent him, yet they will lack a genuine connection with him. He cautions that his teachings will be manipulated and exploited for personal gain. Additionally, he predicts that in the future, elaborate structures made of stone and gold will be constructed, overshadowing the importance of spiritual development. The guide for the first believers. In the Ethiopian canon, there is an ancient text called the Dade, which means the teachings that expands on the message. While this work can be found in other ancient traditions, the Ethiopian version includes unique details not found elsewhere. It serves as a gentle yet authoritative guide, offering clear instructions aimed at creating a different type of community. Rather than glorifying power or wealth, the message within the Diadacalia confronts and questions these concepts. The text subtly conveys a critique of wealthy organized religion by emphasizing the importance of simplicity, humility, fasting, prayer, and distancing from greed and corruption. Rather than valuing wealth and power, the faith presented focuses on inner peace and righteousness. Jesus warns against emulating future religious figures who exploit the poor while displaying lavish attire, serving as a cautionary tale for the present times. This serves as a gentle yet profound observation on the disparity between comfortable spiritual leaders and the struggling individuals who rely on them. Based on the accounts of the monks safeguarding these men, it is believed that this particular doctrine was deemed dangerous by influential individuals in the future. This is because allowing the public to access this teaching might lead them to realize that the true realm of God is not meant to be established through wealth or power, but rather to flourish within each individual Ashar. In the Diadacalia, Jesus instructs his disciples to go into the world with a different purpose. Not seeking power, he advises them to establish close-knit communities based on love and sharing where collective ownership and decision-making are valued. This portrays a vision of a harmonious and compassionate world, free from oppressive leaders, where love, collaboration, and trust reign supreme. He cautions them about the destiny of his name, predicting that it will be exploited by numerous individuals seeking riches, while others will compromise his principles for financial gain. As his reputation grows among the influential, he advises them to seek him out in solitude instead. It is in the unassuming and modest places where he claims his authentic message endures. These warnings are only the beginning. Beyond them lie deeper secrets, teachings about life, death, and the soul that were meant to prepare his followers for a much larger spiritual world. Let's dive into it. The battle between light and darkness. The teachings discovered in ancient Ethiopian texts after the resurrection go beyond basic advice or mild cautions. They delve into a vast and profound realm that seems almost otherworldly. It's often overlooked that these writings offer a spiritual perspective distinct from Western Christianity. This unique perspective starts by exploring the concept of death, as per the ancient scrolls. The resurrected Christ clarifies to his followers that his death was not what they believed. He enlightens them on the concept that death is not the end, but more like changing attire. The body is likened to clothing, temporary and replaceable. When the body deteriorates, the spirit endures. This fundamental concept changes the perspective on life completely. Rather than anticipating a single resurrection at the end of time, attention is redirected to the eternal life of the spirit. The material world is seen as a transient portal, not a lasting residence. Then he imparts a lesson that seems reminiscent of ancient Eastern customs. He explains that every individual possesses two internal flames. One flame ascends towards enlightenment, while the other descends into darkness. Each thought, word, and deed nurtures one of these flames, determining the spiritual path one follows. This paints a portrait of existence in which individuals are continuously molding their own spiritual destiny. There is no evading this reality. Each day, one of the inner flames is being fueled. It highlights the importance of personal choices in shaping one's spiritual journey rather than attributing it to distant forces. A chilling concept found in the Ethiopian canon is the idea of walking death, which refers to individuals who appear alive externally but are devoid of spirit internally. Living without spirit is likened to inhabiting a silent tomb where individuals allow their inner fire to extinguish by filling their void with pride, wealth, or authority. Although these individuals may seem vibrant on the outside, they are actually empty shells within. This notion may be unsettling, yet it resonates with contemporary society. Despite their strange nature, these concepts ultimately lead to an even more astonishing revelation. Within the Book of the Covenant lies a revelation that resonates powerfully. The concept of dual creators. This belief is one of the most unexpected aspects of Ethiopian folklore. According to Christ, there is the Father of light, the ultimate source of all life, as well as a secondary creator referred to as the architect of darkness. This second creator is depicted as being blinded by its own arrogance. Although it is responsible for crafting the physical world, this world is perceived as an illusion. While visually appealing, it is devoid of substance. Within this realm, truth and falsehood coexist, and one's soul may easily become misguided. This image closely resembles the ancient concept of Gnosticism, which suggests that the material world is imperfect, and our souls are confined within it. In this perspective, the creator of illusions holds power over earthly possessions like wealth, power, empires, grand structures, and fear. Those who align with him may achieve riches and influence, but they do so in a realm that is only partially authentic. The risk is that upcoming civilizations might confuse this deceiver with the genuine divine entity. Early Roman leaders made efforts to eliminate a certain belief that they deemed as very threatening. They engaged in battles with those who adhered to this belief, and went as far as destroying any written records of it. However, in 1945, an interesting discovery was made in the Egyptian desert of Nain, a jar containing forgotten texts that all shared a common theme: the idea that the creator of the physical world was not the supreme God and that Christ was sent to liberate humanity from the confines of this lower realm. This particular belief had long been condemned as a major heresy throughout history. Despite this, it resurfaced in the Ethiopian canon, quietly preserved for generations. In this rendition of the tale, the purpose of Christ's journey is redefined. He ventures into this illusory realm, not just to redeem it, but to rouse it from its slumber. He is depicted as a revealer, a bestower of wisdom sent to jog the soul's memory of its rightful abode. He reassures his disciples that the genuine radiance dwells within each individual, even in a realm governed by darkness. Fortunate is the individual who uncovers this concealed light within their own being. He discloses a final mystery to assist them in their internal conflict. In a document known as the Heavenly Scrolls, he details how each individual is accompanied by two invisible beings. One is a guardian angel, while the other is a deceiver. The angel guides the soul towards enlightenment, while the deceiver tugs at the mind, causing doubt and chaos. These hidden companions accompany every individual from the moment of birth until their last breath. Within the depths of every thought, a subtle war rages on. He explains that individuals must personally engage in the battle, as no external influence like a temple, leader, or ritual can intervene. The inner conflict between positive and negative forces occurs within oneself, and only a conscious mind can decide the right path to follow. It is only those who grasp the inner light within them that can transcend the illusionary world crafted by deceptive influences. But there's one more stunning revelation from the Ethiopian Bible. Stick around as we explore Ethiopia's hidden story. People have always been curious about the abundance of ancient mysteries in Ethiopia. The 81 books, cautioning against influential churches and the concept of two creators, have already challenged Western beliefs. Additionally, there is another document that the Ethiopian customs safeguarded. This text, known as the Gospel of Peace, is scarce, controversial, and rarely discussed. Scholars have described it as containing a daring message that was suppressed, criticized, and kept hidden for numerous years. The explanation is straightforward. In this Gospel, Christianity's most significant occurrence is absent. As per this manuscript, Jesus does not meet his fate on the cross. Instead of facing death and resurrection, the narrative presents an alternative scenario. It recounts that following the betrayal, Jesus discreetly fled Jerusalem. He retreated to the wilderness, emulating the ancient prophets who pursued solitude and enlightenment away from worldly distractions. During this time, he carried on teaching for numerous years. His demise was not agonizing. His resurrection did not occur on the third day. He merely persisted in living and spreading a doctrine of harmony and equilibrium. The message being conveyed by the living Jesus is one of gentleness and sincerity, emphasizing a way of life rather than the establishment of a new religious doctrine. His teachings center around love, simplicity, healing, and unity. referring to the earth as a nurturing mother and God as a caring father. He refers to rivers as cleansing angels and trees as life-giving angels. In this narrative, he offers blessings to those who sow seeds, suggesting that planting is a divine act. As he walks barefoot through fields, he embodies a compassionate and humble teacher, illustrating that heaven is not a distant place, but rather present in the way one interacts with the world. Why is the message of peace considered the most perilous teaching? Why conceal it? Why suppress it, while propagating the tale of the crucifixion worldwide? This is the point where the influence of the past is apparent. During the 4th century, the Roman Empire started to fracture. The Emperor Constantine sought a unifying force to maintain control over the entire empire. He sought a single dominant faith, a communication from an educator advocating the heart as the ultimate sanctuary. Love as the supreme law, and nature as a reflection of a divine entity is not conducive to an empire. Such a message fosters independent thinking rather than dependence on religious figures, religious institutions, or rulers. However, a narrative centered on a deteriorating hero is highly effective for asserting authority. It implies that redemption is contingent upon faith in a singular act of sacrifice. This type of narrative requires an organization to oversee it. It necessitates a religious institution to direct individuals to dictate their actions, to instruct them on how to achieve salvation. It demands organization, regulations, and individuals in positions of power. Consequently, the account of the crucified Jesus was selected. It aligned with the requirements of a dominant force. Gradually, the vibrant Jesus transformed into the dying figure. If he wasn't crucified, what became of him? This is where speculation starts to emerge. According to some ancient texts from different cultures, it is believed that another individual substituted him. There is a theory proposing that Simon of Cyrene, who helped carry the cross, was swapped with Jesus at the final moment. As the crowd was in disarray, Simon ended up being crucified, while Jesus made a discreet escape. People speculate about the potential whereabouts of the man if he managed to flee. There are various accounts suggesting that he may have journeyed to the east, specifically to countries like India and Tibet, to seek knowledge from different spiritual leaders before coming back to impart his teachings. Alternatively, some individuals consider a more straightforward scenario. If a descendant of David required safety, where would he seek refuge? Would he seek refuge in Rome, his pursuer-turned-enemy? Or would he seek sanctuary in a land filled with ancestral legends in the Ark? A land capable of withstanding the might of the Romans? This leads us to the topic of Ethiopia once again. There are those who suggest that he traveled there. According to them, his most authentic teachings were safeguarded in that country away from the empire that was crafting an altered depiction of him. While Rome constructed a religion around his crucifixion, Ethiopia maintained a focus on his existence. The monks affectionately refer to him as Yeshua, the one who heals. They assert that his purpose was not to sacrifice himself for humanity, but rather to awaken it, the truth the world was never ready for. Why did Ethiopia end up as the chosen land to hold secrets that go against the widely accepted narrative for centuries? This was no mere coincidence. The significance of Ethiopia goes beyond mere chance or luck. The people of Ethiopia view their land not just as sacred, but as the most sacred of all lands. Their spiritual roots extend back over a millennium before Jesus' birth, all the way to the era of King Solomon, making their connection to the divine much deeper than just through the apostles. The Queen of Sheba, also known as Makata, in Ethiopian folklore, traveled from Africa to Jerusalem to visit Solomon, not just for political reasons, but for a deeper connection. Their meeting resulted in the birth of Menelik I, who later established Ethiopia's royal Solomonic dynasty. As Menelik reached adulthood, he journeyed to meet his father, leading to a truly extraordinary turn of events in the story. He came back with a valuable item, as per Ethiopian customs. He, or a member of his party, absconded with an incredibly potent relic mentioned in religious texts, the Ark of the Covenant. The belief is that it was pilfered from the Jerusalem temple and conveyed to Ethiopia, where it has stayed for centuries. Ajidali. It is presently housed in a modest church in Axum. A solitary monk who abstains from relationships is tasked with its protection. His sole purpose is to safeguard this revered artifact for his lifetime. This story is not fabricated to attract visitors. This conviction lies at the core of their religious principles. If this practice is indeed authentic, then Ethiopia transcends being just a Christian country. It transforms into, according to them, the genuine Israel. At a time when Rome revered multiple deities, Ethiopia regarded itself as the keeper of God's agreement, the defender of a sacred entity capable of altering the path of mankind. Now, let's explore these paths and find out where they take us. What is the significance of the Ark? Some believe it is just a fancy container for the 10 Commandments, but others suggest it has a more ominous nature. According to Scripture, it has the power to devastate armies, obliterate cities, eliminate people instantly, and serve as a bridge between heaven and earth. Certain individuals speculate that the Ark was not just a sacred artifact, but a potent tool, a forgotten innovation from ancient times. If this is accurate, then Ethiopia has safeguarded this authority for almost 3 millennia. This leads us to a remarkable point. Ethiopia stands out as one of the few countries in Africa that successfully resisted colonization. While European powers claimed territories and subjugated populations, Ethiopia remained independent. During the late 1800s, they defeated the Italian military at the Battle of Adwa. Some attribute their victory to bravery, power, and clever tactics. However, some speculate whether there was also a divine protection surrounding the nation that safeguarded the Ark. However, the narrative becomes more intricate. Ethiopia was ruled by the Solomonic dynasty, established by Menelik, for nearly 3 millennia. This dynasty holds the record for the lengthiest unbroken lineage of monarchs in the world. They claim to be direct descendants of Solomon and the tribe of Judah. In addition, Jesus was said to have ties to this lineage. This gives rise to an unexpected hypothesis. According to the Ethiopian royal family, they were connected to Jesus. Consequently, they viewed themselves not as outsiders to the religion, but as the guardians of its oldest secrets. Is it conceivable that the Christianity practiced globally is not the authentic form? Maybe the version endorsed by Rome was tailored for authority and governmental reasons. Could the true teachings have been safeguarded in the mountains and monasteries of Ethiopia without interference from rulers or councils? These inquiries are grounded in tangible proof, not just fiction. The collection of 81 books in the Ethiopian canon is concrete. The ancient Geta Gospels, which predate all Western scriptures, are factual. The presence of the Ark in Aksum is a genuine belief that influences their sense of self. The monks on Lake Tana, continuing to peruse scrolls penned a millennium ago, are authentic. When questioned about preserving these ancient texts, a monk explained that they do so because the texts still hold relevance. It is only in this modern era that individuals are starting to grasp the significance of these ancient customs. Scholars are just beginning to unravel the ancient texts, leading to the realization that the Christianity we know today may have been altered by the Romans to align with their imperial interests. In contrast, Ethiopia has quietly preserved a more authentic form of Christianity, one that dates back to the origins of the faith and remains untainted by outside influences. The Book of the Covenant, preserved in Ethiopia, contains a prophecy about the end times. According to this prophecy, the lost words will resurface, and the spirit will be rejuvenated from the desolate regions of Ethiopia. It concludes with a message attributed to Jesus, not about returning physically, but about returning in authenticity. Perhaps the true resurrection is not about a figure manifesting in the sky, but rather about a long-concealed truth, emerging after centuries of being hidden. This truth has been safeguarded in secrecy and passed down through the ages. It is a truth that humanity may now be prepared to confront. What do you think about the Ethiopian Bible? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more celebrity gifts. Before you go watch the other videos on your